you're all doing extremely well this evening. This Monday the 16th. This week is begun Monday. Last week has gone crazy. The scheduling this week for the shows is going to be a little bit up and down. It's half term, and I'm still a full-time dad, so that definitely dictates the things that I can do. And also as well, I'm going to go away for a couple of days with the kids, Thursday, Friday. So it's probably going to be no shows. I might try and do one, but who knows? Who knows? So look, first thing to say is get into this amazing community. This is the best community on this platform. This is the best honest community on this platform. I do. Leo, I want to get into it, Leo. Leo, let me do my bit, Leo, and then I will come in, because I've got to do some calling out tonight, because it's absolutely ridiculous. So look, get into this amazing community. This is the best community on this platform. Be respectful to each other. Be respectful to the community. Be respectful to me. Be respectful to the chat. Otherwise, the banhammer comes out. We don't like to do it, but we will. And I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your comments. This is why this show takes so long. So look, I hope you're all doing extremely well. Now I am going to kick off the show. Dino is in the house. Leo is in the house as well. And I am going to kick off with something. Look, I like to expose stuff on this channel, right? And where I see it, it may be channel ending stuff. I don't know. But I've got to call some stuff out tonight. So look, Jurgen Klopp. So tonight, I get sent things all of the time. Right? I get sent things about what people say. I get sent clips and whatever else. Now I got sent something tonight, and look, I did have a watch, and I've got to call this shit out, because I think that certain YouTubers love to call this shit out. Now I am going to call them out tonight, because I think that a certain YouTuber on a bigger channel, I watched some of the show tonight, and I saw the thumbnail, and the thumbnail says Klopp or something like that on there tonight, and I've got to call him out. So Goldbridge tonight. Look, I've got to call him out tonight, because what a big pile of shit. Now, as I say, I don't watch him, right? I normally don't watch him, right? But when I get sent stuff and I get snippets of screenshots, and particularly ones along those lines. Now, look, I had to, and I got to say, what a fucking idiot. Look, I get asked all of the time what I think about that channel. And I know millions of people love that shit, right? Now, he appears to me that he is the sort of person that calls things out, right? And look, I know there's not a lot out there, right? I know that, right? I have to call this out. Now, on the thumbnail, there's a Jurgen Klopp on there, because it is absolutely fucking ridiculous that a mainstream YouTube channel, the biggest one out there, has put, and I'll tell you exactly what it says as well. I'll tell you exactly what it says as well, because people get away with things too fucking much, right? And this shit has to be called out. And look, I know people are not going to listen to me, right? I get that. Now, when you're putting shit out there, and look, I just have to find the thumbnail, because it just fucking makes me angry. Is look on the channel, and it says a job offer with Jurgen Klopp. The fucking United stand on Goldbridge, and we're talking to, and look, we've got to call this out, right? Because in my mind, I have to be as honest, and I absolutely do not go in for the clickbait shit, right? There is not a lot like happening this week. Hence, this is why my shows have been quite sparse, right? Now, Ifran, mate, I really couldn't care less, right? I really couldn't care less, right? But when that fucking clickbait twat is putting thumbnails, a job offer to Jurgen Klopp, right? Are you telling me that is the total horse shit that people want to watch? They want to watch a guy who professes to be an honest and open guy, and he's putting a job offer thumbnail with Jurgen Klopp on the front. And now I listened to the first part of the show, right? This is a fucking old story. So we're talking about clickbait, and when we're talking about this fan base being so spun around with the spin from the Glazers, right? With the spin from the Glazers, is absolutely what a fucking moron. And you know, I've listened to his crap, and he's saying, you know, the club is spin. Oh, the club, oh, the club is fucking spin. Oh, I fucking hate the Glazers. Oh, this club is fucking spin. Oh, these people, they're spin. And then he's putting out, and the reason why it annoys me so much is because there are people out there who are going to believe this stuff. There are people out there tonight who are going to be clicking on the thumbnail thinking that Jurgen Klopp, that there's been a job offer. Now look, this story is a nothing story, and I expect better. I expect better from a creator who is supposed to be a man of the people, who is supposed to be this epitome of a guy that creates that. And this is what I mean, the audacity to put that up there, but also sit there, pontificate to everybody that the Glazers are spinning, when the fucking channel does the exact same. And the reason why it bugs me so much is because it's not true. Like, no wonder this fan base is in such a fucking mess when you've got channels the size of that who are supposed to be the biggest and the best, and they put out shit tonight on a thumbnail quoting a job offer. What a fucking cretin. I mean, it just baffles me. It just absolutely baffles me why he would do that. I expect better from somebody who is supposed to be the leader in this industry, the leader in this game. And tonight, for me, it just goes to show for me that channel can literally post that anything they like, and nobody calls them out, because everybody's too scared, because everybody loves them. I don't give a shit. It is a fucking clickbait channel. What a clickbait awful thing to do tonight, because we're in such a manager mess. It is just ridiculous. So look, and Ifran says, to be fair, always insisted that he's not the voice of the United fan base. Bollocks, mate. Absolute bollocks, mate. Absolute bullshit. Absolute crap. It is crap. It is fucking shameless tonight. It's absolutely shameless. And I shall tell you for why. Now, look, I normally do 2 shows a day, right? I refuse to spam you guys. I'm not going to spam you guys with made up stories and made up click stuff, right? Herbie, I saw this tonight and I was absolutely livid, absolutely fucking angry, because it is just lies. It is because there is nothing there, and he's got to come on, and the very first thing he does, because I did watch the very first part of the show, is he basically says that it's not true, and he was never apparently that we made an offer when he left Liverpool. It's not even a fucking story. I mean, fucking Goldbridge, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, honestly, what are you doing? It's an absolute. I'm just absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, look, get in your comments tonight. I want to know if you've seen the show tonight. Like, I literally watched the first 10 minutes, right? And that is probably the first I've watched it in probably about 5 years. Disgusting, absolutely disgusting tonight. And he should be fucking ashamed of himself. He should be absolutely ashamed of that shit of it. He should be absolutely ashamed of it. It is just disgraceful. And the thing that pisses me off is that people just lap it up, and there are going to be people out there tonight who don't have an access to media, who listen to this guy, and he's putting out there at a first glance a job offer has been made to Klopp. It is absolutely crazy. So look, why? So look, let me get through the chat. So look, that's my little rant, as I always do. Look, guys, I just don't believe in it. I do not believe in clickbait. I do not believe in doing that to people, because I just think it's just when you get to a position of power, I think you've got a responsibility. And look, I'm not saying this, I don't have any responsibility of power. I'm saying that when you get to the level of a channel like that and you're doing that to people, I just think it is an utter disgrace, and he needs to be called out on it. He needs to be absolutely called out on it, because it is a fucking disgrace tonight. But look, let me get through the chats. STJ said, evening folks. STJ is in the house. Legend Dino is in the house. Leo says, let's call out fucking Mark Goldbridge. What a fucking idiot. What a twat. An absolute twat. Niche fans had hit the likes. Thank you. Bastian Schweinsteiger. JB Spin Facts. Goldbridge is the GOAT. Yeah, maybe not so much. The audacity to put that on the thumbnail. Exactly. Heard McAllister's coming as well. It is. Oh, look, we can get into all that as well tonight. Apparently, we're going to sign Anderson. Apparently, McAllister. Look, I don't want the players that Liverpool don't want. I don't want the players at Arsenal. I don't want a cast-off. I don't want the cast-offs. I don't. Mythology for the masses. Scott is in the house. Give the absolute bonfire of the last few days. This is. It is. Jay says, just for the clicks. Yes, it is 100%. To be fair, he always he's a fucking moron. Herbie says, good evening, JB. The United stand using Klopp's image is shameless. Can't stand him. Liam is in the house. Hedgie is in the house. Had a poll. Would you take Klopp? Mate, it's not even worth tonight, mate. It's not even worth breath tonight. This is a non-starter story that bigger channels. Let me tell you something. Bigger channels have lots of stories. right? Whenever there are no views, these people go in. Look, they have got a team, right? They go and pick their stories, and they've got their stories in a bag. So when there is a gap in games, when there is a international break, they go to their little library of stories and say, right, how can we clickbait a fan base? How can we spin a bunch of shit? Is an iPhone really an indication of somebody being rich? No. Nope. Jay says, who do people watch him talk a load of nonsense? Just subs you can't miss, another raging YouTuber. And look, mate, I'm not typically a rager. I do like a rant. I do enjoy a rant. Now, when I do have a rant, it is normally because people do things wrong. Like I don't tend to rant after games. I don't tend to necessarily rant. But when I'm passionate about something, and I'm passionate about this fan base, and I'm passionate about the fact that as a community we talk about stuff, and when you've got a fan base at the moment that is so spun around, and I just believe that YouTube channels, particularly the bigger ones, I mean, mine's not a big channel, but when you've got the bigger channels, they should absolutely be doing everything in their power to inform people and give people the truth. Now, I know it's an entertainment thing as well, right? But it shouldn't be about fooling people into watching the content. It shouldn't be about, he doesn't need to do that. There's a reason why people like the guy. He doesn't need, I think that he does himself a disservice by doing those sorts of things. He's so well liked. The channel is so well liked that they don't need to do that. And that is the most frustrating thing, is when you do that for clicks. It just really bothers me. I can't stomach making a fortune through United. What a world. McTominay apparently is coming back, says Leo. He's not coming back, mate. And again, Leo, these are the stories in the ether tonight. Is Odegaard is apparently, we want to sign him. I went through Odegaard last night, and the reason why I don't want to sign him is he's going to be 28. He's quite injury prone. I don't think we need that position. I actually think that we need a winger more. I actually think we need a CDM more. Being linked to these sorts of players, look, I don't want the players. Look, we are supposed to be competing with a Liverpool, even though we are above them. It's not always going to be the same as that. We're supposed to be competing with an Arsenal next season. Arsenal look like they're going to win the league. They're in the Champions League. Any players that they don't want, I don't want those players. Also, he's going to be very expensive. McAllister's going to be very expensive as well. McTominay is going to be very expensive as well. Look, I am not opposed to somebody like a McTominay coming back, but we need to move forward. Why are we going backwards and talking about a McTominay? McTominay's time has been and gone. Was it a huge error? Yes, I am not disputing tonight that was probably one of the worst sells that we've ever done. But we have to move forward, and and look, I'm not saying that he's not a good player. I'm not saying that if there was an opportunity to get him for a good price, I wouldn't take him back. But why are we going backwards? We need to go forwards. Scott says it's the same as Odegaard's spin from the clickbait stand. Yep. I look for a long time for a United support channel to sub. Mark is a click rager, fucking numpty, and a click chaser. And look, it does sell. It does sell. It does sell. With Shesko scoring off the bench, do you think he starts soon? Hedgie, I do think that Shesko does need to start, but again, I think we need two different types of striker. I think we need a Shesko, and I think the Toffees, I think he's going to be perfect. But then there are some games where we need somebody who's a little bit more wily, a little bit more experienced. So I don't necessarily think it is the case of Shesko doesn't start because he's not liked. I think Shesko is trying to learn still, and I think that United, Shesko hasn't been quite right just yet. Your team is collateral for buying a cricket team. Now look, I am going to go and do a story on that, by the way, because I have been looking into so there is a story. There are stories that Avram is going to look to buy an Indian cricket team in the IPL. And there are all sorts of stories out there tonight that he's going to remortgage the land. He's going to use United again to leverage the debt. Now, I have started to write, and I might do the show tomorrow. Now, look, there are a couple of ways. There are 4 or 5 ways that the Glazers can finance this deal. They could levy the debt onto the club, which I don't think they will do. I don't think they can. There is talk of the land, that they own the land. There are also other ways that they can do this as well. So I'm writing the show, and I am going to do that show on the Glazers. But look, you are right. I think tonight, we need to be aware. I think have it as an awareness. I'm not going to do this for clicks. I'm going to tell you from what I've seen. There are no concrete stories. I can't remember the company that is being used, but there's a company that the Glazers are using for their financial transactions to buy the cricket club. The source of the funds right now is unknown, and I do think the stories right now of using United, I'm not saying not, are a little bit at the moment a way to get you to read the stories. Now, I shall tell you for why. In some respects, could they lumber the debt onto the club? Now, the only way that they really could at the moment is to issue shares. So they could basically sell a bunch of shares, and they could do it that way. But this club cannot take on £1 billion. Simple as that. So I will give you the full show on that. We'll probably do that tomorrow. But I think it's really important tonight to be aware that the Glazers are looking to buy an IPL club. How they fund that, if you look at the history of how the Glazers funded the Tampa Bay, how they funded us. Now, how are they going to fund an IPL team? So, all I'm going to say to you is I am going to do a show. I am going to go through all of the possibilities, but I think it is important tonight to realise that. Lost here. Did he say Klopp was? No. Apparently, United made an offer to Klopp. Bag of shit, absolute bag of shit. Paul Swansea Villa says, evening from Swansea. Paul, my family just came back from Swansea as well, buddy. I was going to go to Swansea on the weekend, but I decided not to. And look, Villa, hard luck on the weekend as well. You know, it's always nice to see you guys do well, but at least you can now concentrate on the league, We have to stop funding competitors. I do agree. We already cast off look at Mount, says Leo. I do agree. Lim says no business between United and Liverpool in 62 years. Never going to happen. I did see on here a United stand what's all of the drama. Look, Gary, I'm not going to go into a rant again, but look, my problem tonight is, look, I've got to call it out tonight. People will call out papers, and apparently the United stand are the new sort of media, so why can't they be called out tonight? Now, look, I got sent a thumbnail tonight basically saying that job offer as a thumbnail with Jurgen Klopp's face all over it. It's just a fucking lie. And then I watched the show, first 5 minutes of it, and it's basically just a lie. I'm not calling out necessarily the actual content when you get into the show. I've not watched that channel in probably about 7 years, and even then I've never been the biggest fan of it. Look, I've got no problem with the content. The channel do extremely well. My problem is tonight when you've got a fan base that are spun around, we're being spun, and now you've got channels that are professing to be channels of the people, channels of the fans, adding to that spin tonight. I would happen, I'm the first to call out the Glazers. I'm the first to call out wherever I see spin, and now you've got channels, the biggest channel. Look, I'm not having a pop necessarily at the channel. I'm having a pop at that content tonight. It is not good enough. It just really isn't. Would you swap your squad for Villa's, says Paul. Would I swap my squad for Villa? That is a good question. I wouldn't swap the squad, or would I? Would I swap the squad? That is Paul. That is a good question tonight. Would I swap the Villa squad? I don't know, mate. I don't know. Look, there are certain players in our team that I do like. But if you're asking me, would I swap for a team who I think play some good stuff? I'm not going to be a hypocrite on this, and I would probably say yes, because I don't trust these players. Like, if the reason for me is, it's not necessarily the players, right? Well, it is the players. What I mean is I don't trust these players. I don't trust these players. I am not disputing that Bruno Fernandes is one of the league's best number 10s. I'm not disputing that the Butcher is a fantastic player. I am not disputing that Cunha. I am not disputing these players on paper are better than Villa players. That is just my opinion, right? But I'd rather have the team. I would rather have that team, not necessarily the players. I'd rather have that team. I would much prefer to have the team spirit, much prefer to have the coach. I would rather a team rather than what we have now. And look, we are very, very much still up and down. So I think that is a very, very good question. I think for me on paper, I think we should have the better players. I think in some respects, I do think that we probably do. But I like the Villa team. I like the way that you play. I like the way that you do play as a team. So it's a very, very good question. Other channels invent paid for otherwise. That's why I'm here, not there. Thank you, buddy. Jack says, hi, mate. Going to the Leeds match in April. What do you reckon will be the score? Jack, hopefully, Jack, it's going to be a win. I think it will be a different affair. I think that let's hope United in this break, everybody, I think that De Ligt, apparently there's a story on him and he's going to be back in March. So look, hopefully now, come March, and I know we've got a game on, is it the 23rd? I'm hoping by the time March comes round, we're going to have everybody back. So Jack, I'm, and Leo says 6-0. I am hoping now that this week off, but look, we are going to see it. We're going to see whether I'm right on these players who are a low IQ. Are these players ready for this? Because this is going to be pressure. United tonight need the money. United need the cash. If we don't get into the Champions League, it is going to be diabolical. And it's going to be a summer of cheapness, which I will go through as well. So what's this about? Okay, so Bruno Fernandes tonight. Let me get through the chat, and then I'll go on for the Bruno Fernandes. And look, this tonight is going to be the topic. And look, I'm not. I've got my opinions on it, but I want you guys to give your views as well. So Donny says, Rude is my. Donny 555 says Rude is his nephew. Well, look, Donny, if mate, if that was true, mate, Rude is an absolute legend. Look, Donny, mate, I don't believe that for a second, but Rude, I absolutely loved Ruud van Nistelrooy. I remember when we signed him from PSV. I remember when he did his knee, and then I remember being gutted that he couldn't sign, and then we signed him the following year. What an absolute quality player. I absolutely loved Ruud van Nistelrooy. Again, I was always a striker, right? Ruud was phenomenal. We don't talk about Bruno, says Leo. Lim says certain big YouTube channels have to take a level of responsibility for the chaos the club is in at the moment. I do agree. Arsenal are going to choke themselves out. Shitty to win it all at the death. Does Timber play? Says Donny. Well, Timber doesn't play for us, mate. So I don't care, buddy. Damas says, hi, hello, mate. Brad says, never bring an old player back. It's regression. Shesko and in Mbeumo, now that is a front line. I do agree. Shesko needs players to supply him, whereas Mbeumo doesn't need it as much. So more debt. The Glazers business. Glazers businesses can't afford an Indian IPL team. Exactly. Feel sorry for the cricket club and their supporters if the Glazers get their dirty hands on it. Exactly. United is the Glazers' biggest single asset. If they issue shares option to supporters for 10%, then they could make it work. Adam says, big up, mate. I'm back. Do you go to United games? I have been up 2 times this season. Mate, I haven't been up this season. I might be going towards the back end of the season, mate. I just work, buddy. Look, I've had plenty of opportunities to go. I went to a couple of games last season. Very lucky in some respects that I work with clients and I work with people, their businesses are up and around there. So any time that I get a chance up there, I always tend to bag a ticket. So I've not been this year. I've been so busy this year with this channel, with work and with kids, but I'm hoping that I can be up there. Change teams, says Sean Green. No, United make it back to number, just needs the right men in place do you get on with Mike Goldbridge, mate? I don't know Mike Goldbridge, mate. I don't, mate. I do not know him at all. Look, I'm sure. Look, this is not a personal attack on him. I'm sure that he's a lovely guy, right? This is, you can separate out the fantasy, the showbiz personality from the human being, right? I'm sure that he is a wonderful guy, right? Fine. But I can't stand the clickbait. I can't stand it. There is I think when you get to a level, look, we are nowhere near a level, right? When you get to that, and there's a reason why he is successful. I take off my hat to the success. It's only through hard work. I get it. But I truly believe that when you have the ears of millions of people, which he does, by the way, you've got a responsibility not to peddle that crap. Look, I normally do 2 shows a day. Look, I haven't, because there is nothing there. And look, does it impact my clicks? Yes, it does. Look, this channel doesn't make any money. It makes little money. So I don't do this for clicks. Like, now I do this because it's something that I love. I do it because we've built a community together, and I love talking about this club, right? But when it is your business, when you've now, whether you like it or not, have the ears of fans and people respect you and hang on every single word that you say, you've got a responsibility. Now, look, I'm sure Mark is a great guy, right? But my problem is not necessarily with the person, the personality. It is with the persona. It is with the Goldbridge persona. It is with the clickbait shit. Look, do better. That's all I've got to say to the channel tonight, and to Mark. Do better. Don't hide behind this. Oh, it's just some news. No, you purposefully did that tonight. Own it and do better. I'd love a few Villa players. Mate, what are you on about, says Thomas. Thomas, mate, if you don't like it, buddy, you don't have to be here. Come on, Jabi, a few astute additions and maybe we get a new look. The difference is we both like Unai Emery. Is it a team or a manager that makes that work? Exactly. I think that I agree with you, STJ. We are not far away. Like as the problem with me is, look, I've been burnt by this team so many times. I do agree with you. We are a couple of astute players, and I agree with you completely. We are a couple of astute players away. But look, I don't trust this team in this guise right now. I don't. But I think if we get 5 players, I think it changes the mindset. But also as well, we absolutely have to get in the right coach. And I do agree that I think the coach's impact, you look at a Carrick tonight, his impact has been crazy. Now, if you could get the impact of that long term, you can. So I do agree. I think a couple of signings, I think a coach, a really, really good coach. And I think, I'm not saying that we're going to win a league, but I think we are pushing. I think we are starting to push that top 2, 3 every single season. Switch says, hope you're doing well. I am, buddy. Iranian plays football. Mate, I don't get into politics. Ray says, Odegaard to United. Rumours are thank you. No, not for me, Ray. Odegaard, 100% no. We won't get a top manager. We are no longer a top team. Now, Ryan, there is, look, we can get into that as well. Let me just go through the chats and then I will do that. But McAllister, rumours, every day of the week. I would kill for Van Nistelrooy now. Yes, I would. RBN and Vodafone gives me so much nostalgia. How long been Man United fan? How long you been a United fan? Do you go to games? I've done that one. Glazer bashing again. Not really. Not really. The Glazers deserve a hammering. They do, and I will absolutely hammer them every single stream. Any chance I get to bash the Glazers, I will. I will. Switch says Goldbridge and Beth and Hoyland homosexuals. The old geezer Ricky is a sure sexual. That's hilarious. Logan says, hi mate. Goldbridge lives at home with his mummy. Guy is a sellout. I'm getting my EFL Cup final ticket on Thursday. Logan, mate, look, Logan is a City fan. Logan is a legend of the channel. Look, Logan, mate, I hope you have a good time. Mark is such a great guy. He even made up a fake name. It's clear he does it for fame. United are the same on the pitch as they are in the big picture. It's always the final pass that we fail at. It's always the final piece we can't get a hold of, hence why we haven't got higher than second. James Colin Wilson says, hello buddy. We're a top team. If we weren't, we wouldn't be having the media frenzy. Agreed. Look, mate, we are hated, adored, but never ignored. We're not a top team. The media just use our name based on the past. Hello, says James. You'll be back soon. So look, I wanted to get into Bruno Fernandes this evening. Now look, I'll give you my view on it. You give me yours on it as well. Now look, Bruno Fernandes for me is a very, very divisive player. Now we had an opportunity to sell him last season for a big wad of cash. Now, agree with that or not, I don't know. Now, this season, rate Cantona out of 10, 15. Easy. Easy. So, Bruno Fernandes. So look, where are we? So, this season, Bruno Fernandes, first half of the season, not captain, not the best of seasons. Look, still assisting in games, still very, very petulant. And I would say Bruno Fernandes a very, very frustrating first part of the season. Now, to be fair to Bruno, I said this, many of us have said this, playing him as a number 8 was the wrong thing to do. Now, look, I am not blaming Bruno Fernandes here for playing in an 8 and not playing very well. That is not his position. He is a number 10. It's been put back into the number 10 position and he has been playing better. You can argue probably now he's playing probably one of the best best players in the last 3 to 4 games. Has he been perfect? No. Look, let's not be buying into the hype here that he's been immaculate for the last 4 games. Bruno, West Ham missing again. Fulham, he was okay. Look, he is. There is no doubt that a player like him cannot be replaced. My issue really with him is as the captain. We know he is capable of the ridiculous. He's capable of the sublime. But the one thing for me that he is not a captain. Now, this all transcends and goes forward into the summer. Now, Bruno Fernandes, his contract ends next season. So we're going to have to decide what we want to do with that player. Now, the 2 options are this. Number 1, we sell him. Number 2, we give him another contract. However, Bruno Fernandes is not going to make a decision until after the World Cup. Now, after the World Cup, and if he goes away, we're going to be looking, he might come back in August and say that he wants to leave. Now, Bruno Fernandes is not going to be moved on this. He has told the club he is not making his decision until August. Now, I want your opinions on this. Look, I'm not necessarily talking about, let's take out the player's name for, well, I guess you can't. But let's not necessarily talk about the performances this season. I think, and this is where I'm at, I think that we can replace him. I think that we can replace him. Look, my problem here is this. No player should hold this club accountable. In terms of no player should hold this club to a ransom. If Bruno Fernandes is saying to this club, I'm not going to make my choice until after the World Cup. The danger is Bruno Fernandes comes back and decide he wants to leave, then we've missed out on a target. This club needs to be strong and say to Bruno Fernandes, you do not dictate the timeline to this club. Now, look, I fully respect the opinion tonight that people will say Bruno Fernandes tonight has the right to decide when he wants to leave, right? I'm not talking about whether Bruno Fernandes can be replaced. Can you really replace a Bruno Fernandes? I think you can go on both sides of the fence. Can you replace the Bruno Fernandes that we had? I think people get confused tonight with the Bruno Fernandes that we had and the Bruno Fernandes that we have now. Bruno Fernandes is not going to get better. I don't see Bruno Fernandes getting better and better and better. The guy's going to be 32. He's not going to get better and better. He's going to get worse. And if you look at the performances this season, they are sporadic. Now look, can we replace that player? Tonight, I think that it is an open-ended question. I don't think that we should be replacing a Bruno Fernandes because I don't want a player with that power anymore. I don't want a player power player. We never had this. Fergie never had this. Now look, many of us talk about wanting to go back to the Fergie days, right? Wanting to go back to those days, right? Now, those days are been and gone. Now, I'm going to refer back to those days, not because, Fergie's time is done and dusted. I guarantee you now, if this was a Fergie type of coach, Bruno Fernandes would be gone. I just feel at times this club has been so starved of good players and has been so starved of legends that people are so shit scared tonight of replacing a Bruno Fernandes. And my question is why? Is this club going to end because he's not here? No. Will you potentially find a new Fernandes player? Yes. Will there be players who will step up to the plate? Yes. We have got rid of the likes of our time here. We've got rid of the likes of a Paul Ince, a Kanchelskis, a Rude, Cristiano has gone. Beckham, look, Beckham, right? Beckham. So tonight, look, my opinion on this is I think that we need a manager who's in control. Why is Bruno Fernandes? And look, take Bruno out of this for a second. Why are we letting a player dictate what he is going to do? in this window. We need a strong club. And look, this is another failure of this club. Wilcox, if he had a backbone tonight, he would say to him, look, we're going to offer you another deal. Whether I agree with that or not, you're not being positive. Look, Alor, when we talk about positivity, what is it, and I'm going to ask you a question. What is it that I'm supposed to be positive about? Am I supposed to be positive about Bruno Fernandes is going to dictate the timeline whether Bruno Fernandes wants to stay or go? What's to be positive about that? I'm just asking the question here. Look, I'm not being positive about the club. I'm talking about the player. I'm talking about Bruno Fernandes tonight dictating the timeline. He's got 1 year left on his deal. We are not a charity. You know, I have heard some opinions tonight that Bruno Fernandes has earned the right to dictate the timeline. I've heard an opinion tonight that Bruno Fernandes deserves, to do whatever he likes. I'm sorry, Bruno Fernandes not getting paid 300k a week. Are we a charity? Bruno Fernandes signed a contract. He was happy to sign a brand new contract. That's on him. What does Bruno Fernandes deserve? I don't get the concept that why does any player deserve to choose their own path? Yes, he's been, but in terms of numbers, has Bruno Fernandes been our best player? Yes. But why does he deserve to dictate his future? Should he have been, Bruno Fernandes, is he a victim of picking the wrong club? That's on him. He didn't have to sign the contract for 300k. But why does Bruno now dictate when he signs the contract? Offer Bruno the contract. If that is what you're going to do, offer Bruno the contract and say you've got to sign by X date. Otherwise, piss off. Like we've got to move away. Look, if we want to win a title, if we want to get into the Champions League, if we want to stay into the Champions League, we need an elite mentality, right? I don't want to replace a Fernandes a like for like. I want a team. If you look across any winning team, and I'm talking about an Arsenal this season, a Liverpool, a Madrid, a PSG, what are those things that they have in common? Yes, they do have some amazing individual talent. Every team does. But the difference is that they are teams. They are not a one-man show. They are a team. And we are Bruno Fernandes FC. And look, people are okay with that. Look, I'm not disputing this is not a, I'm not positive about the play. Look, I'm hoping that he goes on to have a fantastic season, and if he gets tied down to a new deal, fine. He has probably earned that new deal. That's not what I'm saying here, but player power is real. Why should Bruno Fernandes tonight? And this is the question. This is not about ability, because if it was, Beckham should never have been sold, right? This is about why is a Wilcox, why is this best in class football side allowing a player to dictate what he does at this club? He's not here for free. It's not like he's here for free out of the goodness of his heart. He's here because he gets paid. Are we prepared? And this is the question. Last summer, we turned down 100 million. And I have to say this, it was at least 100 million. It could have been more, by the way. Are we saying that this summer that last summer we turned down a chunk of money, and are we saying that this year we are prepared to let Bruno Fernandes impact another summer by signing a new contract, but it's going to take him a while to sign the contract? Worst case scenario, Bruno Fernandes wants to leave, and we're not going to be able to sign a player until August. And by that time, we're going to be left with no players. So yet again, it's going to be the Wilcox summer of shit. It's going to be Bruno Fernandes FC, and the story's going to overtake the summer again. So look, I just want to know your opinions on that. You know, do you think that Fernandes should be able to dictate his contract? Now look, I am not here, by the way, to try to change your mind. I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. That is just my own opinion. I would love to know tonight what you guys think. Do you think that Fernandes has earned that right to stay? Has earned that right to dictate? You know, if Bruno Fernandes decides to go in August, is that his right, irrespective of what may happen to the club? Or should Bruno Fernandes be told, look, if you're not going to sign a deal, then go and find yourself a club? And how would you feel about that? Do you feel that Bruno Fernandes should go? Do you feel that, you know, I just want to know that stuff tonight. So let me go through your chats. Let's go through the chats. Let's have a little look. Okay, so we've got Switch says Bruno is replaceable. We've had better players as well before. We will find a replacement, just not as cheap. I do agree with you on that one. Unbiased, great player on his day, shit captain, and I do agree with that. Scott Kent says, evening everyone, question for you all. What London club did Jim Leighton go to on loan? I want to say Arsenal. Jim Leighton. West Ham. Arsenal. I don't know. Bruno should have played where Mount played and did so well at the start of the season. Logan says, how can we beat Salford 8-0 and then go back and beat them 2? And also we beat Exeter 10-1. And then we only beat League 2 Salford 2-0. Out of the remaining squad, assuming Maguire stays and Casemiro goals as planned, who would you pick to be the captain? For me, Switch, it's an easy one for me. There are two options, I think. Number one, the Butcher, or Delict. Those two for me. JB, I disagree. Bruno is replaceable. Sell now while he can capitalise. Let Manu free and add a winger. I think we actually agree. He's going to do a Ronaldo and take the Saudi money. So Martinez is the captain. Kieran says United will not get a better player than Bruno, full stop. He's been our best player of the last 10 years. That said, we have to cash in while we can if we can get 100 million. And Kieran, I think that's an interesting comment. It's an interesting comment. It is, mate. You know, I'm not going to dispute that Fernandes has been one of our best players. But it is an interesting opinion that despite people thinking that he's good, they would still take the money. Once a player thinks they're irreplaceable, then sell them instantaneously, take the money and reinvest. The club was ruthless on De Gea, and he did more for us than Bruno. I agree. United needs to be strong, but not disrespectful. Agreed. Bruno's 32. He is already declining. Maybe not a replacement, but you can improve the team as a whole, and that's what's important. Fergie got rid of Keno to the shock of everyone, and he was right. Liam says, I think we cash in this summer and sign a top midfielder. We will be a painful one, but it needs to be done to move forward. Keane fell out with the manager. Bruno is a model professional on and off the pitch. He is, if not a tiny bit whiny to the referee. Look, Bruno Fernandes. Look, there is no doubt, and this is not about Bruno Fernandes as a person, right? By all accounts, Bruno Fernandes is, he's around the place. He goes and watches the kids play. He goes and does all of that good stuff. He's still not a captain. Just because you go and give people high fives, just because you are smiley, just because you are professional, doesn't mean you are a captain. But I do agree with you. I think United will feel the impact. I think the players will feel the impact when Bruno Fernandes isn't there. But we've got to move on. We've got to move on. Fergie actually used the academy when they were not good enough. What we need is a manager in control, not a coach. The lack of connection and authority is harming the club. I do agree with you. You're not being positive. Wilcox needs to go. I know you like Emery, but would you take Antonio Conte from Napoli, says Switch? I would do. I would do. But I know that Wilcox and co are not going to go for him. I would take him. Yes, I would do, because he would whip this team into shape. Mario Icardi 3-2. Bruno should have gone last summer. He should have been allowed to dictate our summer window this year, as you say. Bruno is doing to United what Salah is. Yeah, agree. Positive support needs positive reinforcement on the pitch. We love our club, but that support is not reciprocated. I do agree, but we need Bruno. Look, I look, and again, and Alora Andre says that Bruno deserves. Look, again, I asked for that opinion, right? And it is in. And look, I am expecting that. Like, I'm not going to disrespect your opinion, right? If you believe that Bruno Fernandes deserves everything, then that's fine. Look, I can't argue with that. People. Like, I am not here to disrespect your views. I am not here to try to change your mind. It's interesting. I mean, look, I don't agree. I think Bruno Fernandes has everything that most people could want. Bruno Fernandes plays for this club. Has Bruno Fernandes earned to play for this club? Yes, he has. Does Bruno Fernandes deserve to stay at this club? No, because nobody does. You've got to earn your right every season to play for this club. People have died playing for this club. Does Bruno Fernandes deserve to play for this club? He's earned the right to play for the club. Does he deserve to play for the club next season? He needs to earn the right again. You don't just play a good season and you deserve the right to play. You've got to do it every single year. I'm not saying that Bruno Fernandes hasn't, but what I'm saying here is that Bruno Fernandes doesn't automatically deserve to play for this club. He doesn't do it for free. So look, we have paid Bruno a lot of money. It is the fans that deserve. It is a privilege by Bruno Fernandes to play for the club. He doesn't deserve it. It is a privilege to play for the club. It is the fans that deserve stuff, not Bruno Fernandes. Scott says it's Bruno's choice at the end of the day. If he leaves, then let him go. No player bigger than the club. It's true. But my only thing is that whilst I do agree, Scott, that it is absolutely up to Bruno Fernandes. Only he can make the choice if he stays or goes. But he can't dictate. He can't dictate. He needs to make his decision now. Because Bruno Fernandes cannot be allowed to go to the World Cup, swan off to the World Cup, and then go, well, actually, I've come back at the back end of at the beginning of August to tell us he's going to leave, how do we find a replacement, or how do we find another player to replace that space? He could have gone to Spurs in the summer before. Pretty sure he won't be complaining when his career is done about the wrong club. Exactly, when he's got the money. Arsenal haven't won anything yet. Liam says we offload Bruno with Casemiro in the summer. That's 30 million a season off the wage books as well. Cash in now, strengthen the team, look at bringing academy players through and move forward. Never ever underestimate United fans hating on Bruno. Look, Kieran, we're not hating on Bruno, mate. There's this rhetoric, Kieran. There's this. I think there's this really, really simplistic view that if you have an opinion on a player, then it's automatic hate. Kieran, it is not hate. We're not hating on him, but every player has his day. In 2 years' time, Bruno Fernandes is going to be 34 years old. Whether I like it or not, whether people like him, I like Bruno. I don't agree with everything he is, but he's going to be 32 years old. Bruno Fernandes has been a fantastic servant. I want Bruno Fernandes to leave this club on good terms. Is Bruno Fernandes a legend of this club? No. To some people, he is. To me, he's not. It is not hate. You have to separate out hate from reality. The situation is we're going to have to bite the bullet, and Bruno Fernandes can be replaced. The very fact that we're having a conversation about a singular player, what about the rest of the team? And this is why I think Bruno Fernandes, for the betterment of this team, needs to go, because we need to move away from Bruno Fernandes FC, because we are bigger than that. We've had better players. We've had better players, and we will have better players. Every club goes through the transitional change, including moving on star players. Exactly. It's not detecting. Kieran, he's 32, for goodness sake, on 300k. He's doing a perfect job. He deserves it. And look, mate, look, I am not here, buddy. Look, Alora, mate, look, I totally respect that view. Like, I totally do. This is not a place where I tell you that you're wrong. There are some opinions in life that are wrong. But on the Bruno Fernandes debate, I think this is worth having the debate tonight. And look, this is not on ability tonight. This is on the future of this club. And when it comes to the future, when you've got a singular player who's going to have a very, very big say in the future of this club, he needs to make a decision. Whether he stays, fine. Whether he goes, he goes. But he needs to make his choice before he goes to the World Cup. And my comment tonight is there is no player that should hold a club to ransom. There is no player that should be bigger than this club. And right now, unfortunately, Bruno Fernandes is. What's going to happen? What's going to happen if Bruno Fernandes leaves? What are you Bruno fans going to do? What are you expecting Bruno Fernandes to be in 2 years' time? In 2 years' time, when Bruno Fernandes is 34 years old, do you think he is going to get better? Look, if the decision is Bruno Fernandes is going to sign a contract and he stays, and we succession planning by Kobe Mainu or bringing in another player, that's fine. But he needs to make a decision before we go to the World Cup and stop holding this club and us fans to ransom. He does. Why can he not be trusted? I'm not saying we shouldn't selling for 100 million. I just don't get the hate. He's been a great player for us, and he loves the club. Look, Kieran, mate, I promise you, buddy, I promise you, it is not hate. I don't trust him, mate. I don't trust him. If you look at his performances, look, his numbers last season were brilliant. I am a bit sick and tired of people saying that if it wasn't for Bruno Fernandes last season, we would have gone down, right? I disagree with it. I wholeheartedly disagree with the statement, because if Bruno Fernandes wasn't there last season, another player would be there last season. It's too easy for me to say just because you get goals and assists, which are important. But my whole argument is this: even when Bruno Fernandes, even with his goals and assists, we still finished 15th last season. And Bruno Fernandes, the first half of this season hasn't been great. And I'm not even talking about playing as a number 8. His captaincy this year has been dreadful. There were times, for example, against Spurs, where he could have gone in for a tackle and he didn't. Like, he's not a captain. So look, it is not hate from me at all. Everything that I say based on him, in my view and the way that I watch football, is I don't like what I see. And I just think it's time for him to go. And look, there is no hate in it. There is no malice at all. If Bruno Fernandes left and went on to win a Champions League or a league, I would celebrate it. I think it'd be absolutely fantastic. There is no doubt that he is a good guy. There is no doubt that he loves the club. But Kieran, if he loves the club, he needs to make a decision. Whether that is he stays, fantastic, fine, or whether he goes. If Bruno Fernandes really loves the club and is not thinking about himself and is thinking about the clubs and the fans, because look, whatever happens, he's rich. He's going to make a load of money. So he needs to crack on and make a choice. And whether he stays, if Bruno Fernandes stays, I will support him. If he doesn't, I will support it as well. And if he goes on to win a Champions League, fantastic. Fantastic. But my argument here is he just needs to make a choice. Sell Bruno, sure, goes on free. Two more to move on. Academy has to be brought through. I do agree with you. No player is bigger than the club. Simple as. As a captain, he should know that. Let me tell you something, okay? Bruno Fernandes is the biggest midfielder in the Premier League right now. Who is better than Bruno this season? We need him, fam. I disagree with you. Bruno Fernandes, his numbers will always be good. Bruno Fernandes hasn't been the best. Look, Alora, I do feel like you're buying into it. But look, that is your view, right? Alora, I've watched every single game this season, and I'm telling you now, Bruno Fernandes, other than 2 games this season, has not been the best midfielder in the Premier League. Now look, you can argue Bruno has played as an 8, fine, but I still expect the basics. Bruno Fernandes as a captain this season, look, go back, Alora, if you can, go back and you go and watch those games. West Ham, he was awful twice. Fulham, he was okay. Everton this season, he was awful. Nottingham Forest, Spurs, the Grimsby game when he came on, he has not been good this season. He's not a captain. He has not been the best midfielder. Has he improved in the last 4 games as a 10? Yes. Yes, he has. He's had, of the 5 games that we've played, I think in 2 of those games he's been class. In 2 of those he's been non-existent, and then the 3rd he's been fine. Fulham, he was okay. West Ham, again, awful. City, great. Arsenal, great. Spurs, good as well. West Ham, Chelsea, says Alora. Not even close. Opta has him at a 9. It would be painful to see him go, but we have to look to the future. Right now, we are too reliant on Bruno, and he sets the tempo for the rest of the team. If he doesn't turn up, and look, and Liam, I think Liam, I think you are spot on, my friend. Best player Rooney in his final season was far better. Captain, fantastic, will stay and get big payday, mate. He is. Look, Alora, mate. Again, you are arguing your view, and I admire it. I am not telling you that you're wrong tonight because that's your view. It is your view. It is your view. Controversial one. Conte for me, no. Fact, no. Conte for me, I would take him because the problem is, right, I would take a Conte if I knew that we were going to get players, right? I think we need a manager like him who's going to get into these players. The problem is, for me, is Conte of a manager now? No, because Conte is not right for this team right now because we don't have the players. But from a conceptual perspective, would I take Conte? Yes, but realistically, if we got Conte right now, it would be a disaster. Rooney's final season being better than Bruno's best season at United is just completely biased. Rooney by far overall is a better player. We should let Michael Carrick cook for 3 years. Yeah. No one denies Bruno can be an amazing player on his day, but he plays for himself and fucks off when he can't as he pleases. Sell now. No player bigger than the club. If Bruno wants to leave, then sell him, end off, because United needs to move forward. We should let Carrick cook. Okay, Bruno needs the Premier League before he can go. Yep. Playing for United being selected is a privilege, much like Liverpool play for the shirt and the history or sod off. I do agree. Bruno is a legend to those who never saw us under Fergie. I do agree with you. Avram says, hello, buddy. Eric sings, it's all about the money. Bruno has been carrying this team for almost a decade, and it's been 7 years. Nobody said anything about it. Now it's the money. It's always been the money, mate. It's always been the money. Stop speaking here. Go work for me. Okay, buddy. He's not a United legend. Great player for us, though. I do agree. Mbumo, Cunha, Lissandro, mainly these are playing for the shirt. Stop speaking of soccer. Work for me. Go. Stop speaking of soccer. Work for me. Going. Okay. Don't get it, mate. Okay. I'm old school United fan, nearly 50 years. I've seen so many great players go over the years. United move on. It's football. I mean, I've been supporting this club for 40 years. Scott, I mean, you're older than me, buddy. Look, we've seen as we've all seen over the years. Those of us lucky to see the Fergie years, we know what players are. Avram Rothstein says, I'm your boss and owner. Oh, are you my wife? I don't think you are, buddy. Apparently Avram thinks that I'm his husband. Philip says, get a grip. Losing Bruno can only make us worse. Look, Philip, mate. I'm giving an opinion. It's my view. You don't have to like the opinion. I disagree with you, but you know. The way Bruno is, though, he has 2 or 3 years left at high level. Not the best dribbler, but impact is heavy. He will not be easy to replace. And look, tonight is not necessarily about Bruno Fernandes's ability. The only thing I want to know tonight is whether Bruno Fernandes is going to sign a contract or piss off. Like, the problem I've got is there is no player for me that can hold this club to ransom. Bruno Fernandes is not even in our top 20 best players. I could probably name at least... Let's name some players. Schmeichel, Irwin, Pallister, Bruce, Keane, Cantona, Paulins, Kanchelskis, Giggsy, Mark Hughes, McClare, York, Cole, Solskjaer, Rooney, Ronaldo, Beckham, Scholesy. I'm at what, 18? You know, Bruno Fernandes is not there. If we sell Bruno for 80, add that to the expected 100, and it's a no-brainer sell. United Red says Bruno is our best signing since Rooney. He can stay as long as he wants. And look, that is your view. I hate to say this, Cristiano, has been there as well. Rooney, so Berbatov signed. Tevez, I can't fucking stand Tevez. Look, I'm not disputed. Robin van Persie, I think Van Persie's better. Carrick signed after Rooney, I think, as well. So I disagree with you there. Was Carrick there? Was Carrick there before Rooney? I can't remember now. RVP, I think RVP. To be fair, we have to remember it's a squad game and not a solo game. Exactly. If we don't get around 60 or more, might as well keep it. No, agreed. How is he holding the club to ransom? You're talking rubbish. Well, look, because look, Philip, this is my view on it, right? Is that there's a player who's going to have 1 year left on his contract, and Bruno Fernandes is refusing to make a decision on his future until after the World Cup. What you've got to understand is by the time he goes on holiday and comes back, it is August. Bruno Fernandes decides to leave in August. We've got 4 weeks before it closes to sign a player, and then we'll have 2 weeks before the season starts. That is why he's holding the club to ransom, because he is refusing to commit his future. Philip, if that is not the epitome of holding somebody to ransom, I don't know what the fuck is. Because we're asking him for his future. He's telling us that he's not going to tell us until after the World Cup. We need to know now, because otherwise, if Bruno Fernandes decides to leave, then we're fucked, because we need to sign a player now. Well, we need to sign a player before he goes. So, yes, he is, Philip, because we can't sign another player until we know he's going to go. So we are at the behest of Bruno Fernandes when he decides to make his choice. Because if Bruno Fernandes stays, we don't sign that player. And if Bruno Fernandes goes, we've got to sign a player. So, Philip, he is holding us to ransom, my friend. You just need Chevrolet. Whether or not it's true, one miracle this season does not grant immunity. Bruno can never be big than the club. Bruno can never be bigger than the club. He's cooking. We need the man for a couple of years. Believe me, Bruno's bleeding for the club. I know he won't leave. Disagree. Do you think captaincy is... Philip, what I want in a captain is somebody that is basically going to inspire a team. Somebody who fucking tackles. Somebody who's willing to lead by example. Bruno Fernandes doesn't do any of that. Just because Bruno Fernandes walks around the club giving kids high fives, watching people play, doesn't mean he isn't a leader on the pitch. Bruno Fernandes was part of the Liverpool game when we got absolutely hammered, right? Bruno Fernandes, where was the leadership then? He completely gave up in that game. He wanted to be subbed off. If you look at this season, a referee accidentally stepped on his heel. He threw a hissy fit. He went in at half time and came back out, and he was pissed off again. Bruno Fernandes hasn't led by example the whole season. Spurs, right? I guarantee you, right? If you look at Roy Keane, right? Juventus, 99, right? The reason why we won that game was because of Roy Keane, because he single-handedly dragged us through the semi-final. If Bruno was a captain, if Bruno was an amazing captain, Spurs, that final, Spurs were absolutely dog shit. Spurs had half of their team out. Bruno Fernandes, if he was any sort of leader, would have dragged us through that game. So no, it's not just about a tackle. It is about a mentality. And Bruno Fernandes doesn't have the captaincy mentality. And that's my view. Eric says, JB, I don't agree with you. The reason this club is not doing fine is the transition from experienced players to up and coming players. JB, get out of United FC. I don't agree with you. The reason the club is not been doing fine is the transition from experienced players to the up and coming players. JB, get out of United FC. Go talk about Chelsea. Eric, well, you fucked that, mate, haven't you, Eric? You fucked that, Eric. So, there you go, Eric. You fucked that. Let's have a little look there. You're gone as well. You're gone as well. You're gone as well. Let's have a little look. Robson, best captain ever, says Scott. Exactly. If board did their job with the rest of the team being sold, Bruno is not an issue in the 10. It's all about getting a world-class replacement. I don't disagree. If INEOS make the club no signings, top managers will come. Look, honestly, always the money. Show me the money. Maguire being a piece. Exactly. Are you my wife? My concern is who's the replacement. It has to be Morgan Rogers. Agree with you, Sully. Owen, Kanchelskis, Pallister, Bruce, Owen, Van Persie, Park. Proper players, Robson and Whiteside. Exactly. Bro, what time is it for you? It is 12:15. Glory to Liverpool. All our decisions need to be made before the World Cup. Exactly. Man United, go Liverpool. Sir Alex would have got rid of Bruno. Exactly that. It's actually possible to find someone slower than Bruno Fernandes. Sell the prick. Sorry, bar showing. Sell and get one or two. Liverpool fans in tonight. Bruno is not a leader. Spot on. People don't want to believe what's the problem. They don't see the truth. Bruno, sad I am captain. Fantastic. That Juventus game, we were god awful till Keane. He grabbed the team, shook us into action. Now that's a leader. Exactly. JB, where are our mods? They're not here tonight, mate. It looks like it's just me. Yeah, the mods are on vacation. People hate on Keno so much now that they don't understand his speech from standards and logic to do your job. Didn't need praise and positivity. Exactly. So look, guys. Look, it is any time we talk about Bruno Fernandes, it always gets a little bit fraught. And look, I completely respect that view, right? People are going to get annoyed. People are going to agree. People are not. It is what it is. It is what it is. So look, guys, I'm going to go. Look, fantastic show. Look, I hate banning people. I hate bringing down the ban hammer. But look, when people are rude, look, I don't mind people disagreeing, right? It is people's right to disagree. But then when people are just rude to me, or people are rude to the community, then you've got to go. Simple as that. So look, guys, absolute, fantastic debate tonight. Look, guys, you are legends of the channel. There you go. Switch. That's been granted, buddy. That has been granted, Switch. So there you go. Kevin Humphrey says hello. So look, yeah, Switch, mate. You're welcome to the gang, Switch. So if you have a little check, buddy. Mod time, mate. So look, yeah, guys, look, absolute fantastic. STJ, mate, as always, you are a legend, mate, and I appreciate you being on here, buddy. Switch as well, like you guys tonight, look, legendary. Look, without you guys, this channel doesn't exist. And look, we're not for everybody. We're not. No, I know sometimes I rant. It's just because of the passion. And I'll always try to tell the truth. So look, I fully appreciate that this channel is not for everybody. It is completely free. But look, guys, you guys are legends. I can't thank you enough for being here. Fantastic show. As always, I should be back at some point tomorrow. And again, if there's nothing that really breaks tomorrow, I'll just do another evening show tomorrow, because I'm not going to spam you guys with clickbait shit. It's just not me. It's not me, and it's not what we do on this channel. So look, guys, have a fantastic rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are. We live for your rants. Thanks, buddy. So look, I will be back tomorrow. You guys are legends. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I will see you wonderful people tomorrow. Take care and good night.